All right, everybody. Thanks to the local supporter for this idea. Saw this on AllisonMorrow.locals.com. So go over there and join the editorial board, and then you might see your story idea here on the show. Today, we're talking about how ESPN has announced it has decided to use artificial intelligence to write some game stories. And this article right here that you're looking at on the screen is written by Pointer. This is for the Pointer Institute, which is the groupie journalist group of all groupie journalist groups, basically. And so they're writing to each other. So this is not something the average person is going to read. This is something a lot of journalists are going to read. This is their game day type story. Breaking down ESPN's decision to use AI to write some game stories, ESPN says AI helps it cover underserved sports. Journalists argue the network should just hire more journalists. All right, before we even get into it in detail, Bill, what about that argument? Journalists mad that they're just being put aside and they should just be hired on more in more number at ESPN and get rid of this whole AI thing. If you want to cover underserved sports, then hire more journalists. Don't go to computers.
I got to be honest. I did not know exactly what to make of this at first, and we'll go into a deeper dive here in a minute. But I like making money. I like being a businessman and things like that. From a business perspective, I get it and I understand. Now, I don't think they could ever have AI do coverage of the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball or anything like that. I just don't think that would ever fly. However, for women's lacrosse, why not? I mean, it's. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. That sport is rarely covered on major big news networks like ESPN and Fox Sports. It's just not. So why not have AI generate your articles for that? Because I can guarantee you, the articles that they do post about men's underwater polo probably get 1/1000th of clicks less compared to NBA, Major League Baseball, and probably soccer in general. And if we're being honest.
All right. Well, then my question is, why even bother covering these sports? If nobody wants to watch them, then why even bother? Before I get into that, though, all right, there's nothing artificial about this, but only intelligence when it comes to Allison Wine Promo. AllisonWinePromo.com, where you will get 6 amazing bottles of wine from the most amazing regions of the country. Every 3 months, they will be delivered to your door. You will have a present for whatever party, holidays coming up, birthdays, all that stuff. And you can tell people that it is not just great wine. It comes with a cause. It supports the show. It is a free speech company. And all these wines were meticulously selected for what I like, which is like hand harvested and old world winemaking techniques, nothing fake, no artificial dyes. The wine world is just like the food world. It's followed the same trend. It's highly industrialized. And these are wines that are so small batch produced, and in some cases by families that have been doing this for generations and generations, hundreds of years, that they just don't have enough to mass market in the United States. And Bonner Wine goes to all these places that are like in the middle of nowhere, finds the wines and makes them available in limited batches for people that are in the Allison Wine Club. So join the Allison Wine Club. You'll get to hear all about the wines you're drinking. You cannot go wrong. They're all amazing, and they just taste great. Besides the fact that they've got great stories associated with them, and they're produced with all these amazing techniques, they are just good. You're going to really enjoy drinking them. AllisonWinePromo.com. Okay, yeah, so why even bother covering? If we go over to Pointer, why bother covering the Premier Lacrosse League and National Women's Soccer League if no one's watching? Because that's what they're saying. The sports media announced it would implement artificial intelligence to write game recap stories for the Premier Lacrosse League and National Women's Soccer League. And with anything involving the rapidly changing alliance of AI and journalism, what followed were lots of questions and a little uneasiness. Why bother? If you can't put a person on it, why bother doing it at all?
I completely agree with that sentiment as well. I really don't know why this is even a conversation. I didn't even know that there was a Premier Lacrosse League. I thought once you got done in college playing lacrosse, like that was the highest level. Kudos for them, but it's not anything that anybody watches or really anybody cares about at the end of the day. It's so infinitesimal. The numbers when it comes to some of these lower sports. I love pickleball. I'm so happy that they started pickleball TV. But again, if somebody wants to hire or get an AI generator to write an article about, Anna Lee beating Ben Johns in the Utah Open, it wouldn't bother me at all. Here's the other thing, and people do not. This is a part that's going to be really unpopular. I'm probably going to catch a lot of fire for this one. AI doesn't talk back. Okay. AI does not go to HR because you went to the cafe and your Starbucks was too hot and now they're going to HR to complain. AI doesn't do that. AI does what it's told, when it's told, and eliminates a lot of issues. Okay. So I, I kind of get it and I understand the benefits of AI when it comes to a job like this. I just think we really need to be careful. I've said this before, Allison. We got to be careful with what we let AI do, but covering the J list sports, I don't have a problem with it.
In this article by Tom Jones, I'm assuming Tom is a he, at least back in the day. You can make that assumption. I don't know about now anymore, but
how dare you assume his gender?
Sorry, Tom, if I got that wrong. But anyway, Tom says that, okay, essentially the fear among living and breathing journalists is this is a slippery slope and AI is taking their job. And they say instead of using AI to write lacrosse and soccer stories, why doesn't ESPN just hire more journalists? And if ESPN can use AI to cover those sports, what's to stop them from using AI to cover more and other sports? Okay, I guess ultimately, if I hate to say this, but like, if the world of journalism or reporting about whatever topic it is thinks that it can do it with a computer and doesn't need a real person, then does that, I know people are going to say this, well, what about manufacturing jobs and all these really important jobs? Okay, but what does that say about the person doing the job if you can be replaced by a computer? I mean, I don't know. In a job like journalism, which you would think would require a real understanding of nuance, like a real understanding of nuance and complexity and context that only a human being can do. Then for a journalism institution, for a corporation or whatever to say we can replace with a computer, to me has this subtext that's like, we don't really do a lot of nuance, critical thinking. We don't think a human needs to cover it. We think it's just, like baking a cake, put in the 5 different recipe items and then it just comes out every time exactly the way it should. And I wonder about that. I mean, I really wondered like what the corporations are telling us about their recipe for news if they think a robot can do it all, because there are certain things that like, nuances and stuff that cannot be plugged in. And okay, maybe we're being too hard on them because it's a lacrosse. I mean, what's the nuance? I don't know. But what about, like, there are a lot of actually political and racial and cultural stories now happening in sports. And it would be interesting, like, if you entrust AI to do that. I'm just curious, what does this say to us, or am I reading too much into it about how the corporations look at the role of a journalist and the material they're producing if the job is so, in some cases, irrelevant that a robot can do it? Bill?
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying there. And I am actually going through, with my paying job, I'm going through generative AI certification courses. Okay. There are some things that AI does really, really well. And there's a lot of things AI is absolute trash. Okay. It's not anywhere near where people think it is yet. Okay. Molly, you probably remember back in the 70s and 80s when all of these factories started going into automation. Okay. Whether it was manufacturing, textiles, or whether it was the car industry, oh my God, robots are going to take all of our jobs. We survived that. Okay. So everybody just relax. We're going to be fine. But when it comes to these nuanced, heartfelt stories, AI can't write that. If AI wrote, I'm telling you, if you put in front of any normal human being an AI generated article about Caitlin Clark and then a journalist written article about Caitlin Clark, a normal human being is going to be able to tell the difference. And the one that's written by the journalist is going to be more heartfelt, more nuanced. And AI just cannot replace that, at least not yet. And I think we're still far away from it. But just to bring you stats and numbers from your mom's discgolfleague.com tour, yeah, why not?
All right. Send me some mail. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Love getting the notes of encouragement, seeds for our garden, artwork, gifts for the kids. The producers do open the mail on the way home. It lights up their day. Please do not send anything creepy. Nothing edible, nothing dangerous. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Let me present to you this guy from Cord Cutters News and hear what he has to say about this. Always interesting to hear the take of somebody outside the news business discussing this. So here we go.
Right.
TV shows and more. We're already seeing AI created content to make small movies and small television shows. I expect this to become more and more popular. Mark my word, the day is coming very soon when major sporting events will not have human announcers, but instead will use AI for the play-by-play call, at least, if not even the commentary someday. The cost of this and the return on it, if they can make it work, is huge, right? Staffing is some of their biggest expenses. If they can replace that with AI, they're going to dramatically reduce the amount of cost it takes to cover these sporting events. Again, mark my word, this may be for lesser known sports and recaps right now. ESPN is not alone. We're obviously NBC do this. We've seen the Tennis Channel do this. I wouldn't be surprised to see Fox do it soon. AI generated coverage of popular sporting events. It's going to become popular. News, we're already seeing that widespread AI generated news articles, AI generated voice audio. Probably, hey, maybe this will be AI generated Luke someday. Hopefully.
All right. So Bill basically saying what the journalists in that Pointer article were, or at least Tom was saying about journalists in that Pointer article, that it's just starting here, but it's not going to end here. And that someday, yeah, you're going to see announcers like on big game days that are just.
I just don't see that happening. The AI cannot generate the excitement of, calling the game-winning walk-off home run in Game 7 of the World Series or the last-second field goal to win the Super Bowl. AI is nowhere even near capturing that emotion and that involvement that comes with calling live sports like that. Now, Allison and I, we've talked about this years ago that China already has AI news anchors. Okay. So that's not coming. It's already here. It's just not mainstream here in America yet. I don't know if it ever will be or not, but I don't think we're that far off. But when it comes to live sport, I mean, news is supposed to be, straight down the middle and presented in a way that, here's the facts and then you make up your own mind if you like it or don't like it. With sports, that will never, ever happen. You always have to have some kind of emotional attachment. That's why we get into sports. That's why I played sports almost all of my life. Allison, I don't know. Can I share my screen or are you the only one that can share screens?
You can share a screen. Yeah.
Okay.
You just have
I'm
to.
going to share this screen with you. While we were listening to that gentleman, I just typed in write a news article about Allison Morrow in Chat GPT. Yeah. And then bam. So
Wow.
yeah.
What does it say about me?
Okay. So it's all about how you went from mainstream to independent and then the rise of your independent platform, tackling controversial topics. Yeah. So it's not a good article, but it did it. And it did it like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't talk back. It didn't talk back to me. It didn't say, oh, I don't want to write about Allison Morrow. Oh. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, like, okay, I mean, that basically goes to my point. Like, one of the things that I think a lot of journalists forget about when whining about this phenomenon is that there are plenty of journalists who make way too much money for what they actually produce, and even some that are making not even that much money, but they still don't do a very good job. You know, I have a hard time, like, as much as I'm not really a fan of the ways that some of these newsrooms are going to go about using AI. I also have a hard time, like, just bowing to the journalist saying like, well, you're replacing us. It's like, well, I mean, is it kind of your guys' fault that you just spit out what you Googled and
Mhm.
a computer can do that? I mean, that's what a lot of people are doing now. Now, maybe it's the corporation's fault they're not giving their journalists the time to do the research they need to do. But a lot of journalists think it's okay to just Google a topic. Oh, okay, yeah, I Googled it and now I know what I'm talking about. And then they just regurgitate or just taking something from NBC News and just copying and pasting it and throwing in the prompter. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of that happening. And it's just like, yeah, a computer can do that. Sorry. In this article, Tom says, AI train continues to plow forward. ESPN is clearly jumping on board. Used responsibly and judiciously, AI could be a helpful and worthwhile tool for any media company without being a detriment to real journalists. But if the real goal is to simply save money by using AI, particularly when it's an inferior product to a reasonably good journalist, it's hard to get on board if you're a media consumer. And I think that's the caveat here: reasonably good journalist.
Yep.
Yeah, compared to a good journalist, I don't choose AI. However, show me how many of this I still got in the business. I mean, show me how many of these I still got in the business, or even the ones that could be, but in this particular system that they're working in right now, it is damn near impossible to be a reasonably good journalist. It just is. You finally get to the point, like I did, Bill did. You wake up one day and you're like, I don't know why I'm killing myself for this job. I used to think that I was doing it because, public service. It was important for people to be able to hear what's really going on. But then I realized I don't even know what's really going on because I haven't had time to figure it out. And that's never going to change. So I'm out of here. And so, yeah, the whole a reasonably good journalist, great. Where are they? All right. So anyway, going back real fast, last promo, I promise, greenpasture.org. Get your cod liver oil or fermented cod liver oil, butter oil blend. This is what I take for teeth, health, all kinds of good stuff, immunity. My kids take it. I've been taking it for dental health for a long time. Help me heal cavities naturally. If you use promo code Allison at checkout, ALISON, at checkout, you get 10% off. Okay, so just go to fermented cod liver oil, concentrated butter oil blend. They have capsules, but I take the gel. I like the cinnamon tingle flavored gel. I cannot say enough about this company, and the product is great. Actually, my dad, who's a doctor, was the one who got us started on this, and he was trying to avoid root canals. It helped him not ever have to get those root canals. I ended up go to the dentist, no more cavities, even though I used to get them all the time. Greenpasture.org, Allison at checkout for 10% off. Please.